Continuing the chapter money, let us now discuss narrow and broad definitions of money. Narrow money, these includes only currency notes and coins. That means normally what we have in mind about money, notes and coins, they are narrow definition of money. But we know that money is not only currency and coins. So under money, apart from currency and coins, it can be bank deposits also. It can be plastic money, digital money. All these things include broad money. So broad money, apart from currency notes, so they include also currency notes as well as time deposit. That means bank deposits and post office deposit. So in post offices also we can keep our cash just like bank account. All these collectively include broad money. Now let us come to classification of money. Full bodied money. A full bodied money is the money which is actually having the same intrinsic value as well as face value. For example, if a coin of rupees 5, it should have a metal which is having the market value of rupees 5. So then you can call it full bodied money. Earlier, the coins which were issued, they were actually full bodied money because earlier the coins were of silver or gold, and silver coins were in India in use till the 17th century also. So at that time, 1 rupee coin during the British period, it was of silver. So it included silver that was of rupees 1 at that time. But later full bodied money was stopped into circulation because what happened that due to inflation, the actual value of the metal that was included in the coin, that became much higher, and because of that many people started melting that particular coin and selling in the market. For example, let us believe that 1 rupee coin of silver was having silver equal to rupees 1 at the time of issue. Suppose it was issued in 1720 having 1 rupee silver. So after 20 years, suppose the silver became expensive and the silver now could be sold in the market for rupees 2. So what people did, they started melting the coin and then started selling the silver in the market. So recently also this happened with 1 rupee coin till 20-30 years ago in India, that 1 rupee coin was heavier coin having metal of rupees 1, but people started melting 1 rupee coin and selling the iron or metal included in it in the market. So now we have 1 rupee coin which is having a metal much less than the value of or the face value of 1 rupee. So in today's time you will not find any coin that is having or any currency that is having metal of equal to the face value. Next is credit money. Credit money is that money whose value as money is greater than its commodity, that means intrinsic value. So a 5 rupee note or a 10 rupee note will not have paper equal to rupees 10. We all know that the face value of the money is much higher than the intrinsic value. So this is credit money. Token coins, these coins like 1 rupee, 10 rupee, 5 rupee, these are token coins since their value is higher or the face value is higher than their intrinsic value or metal value. And the notes, they are promissory notes. So all these are having face value much higher than the intrinsic value. So all these notes we all know that they are having much higher face value, and these notes are actually promissory note. So since in a promissory note there is a statement written, I promise to pay the bearer the sum of rupees this much. On any note issued by RBI, you can observe that such type of statement is written. So they are promissory note. Then legal tender money and optional money. Legal tender money is a money that is having the legal validity of the government. For example, 2-3 years ago, when the government of India announced that 500 rupees and 1000 rupee notes will not be in circulation, so at that time we can say that those notes lost their legal tender, and that is why from that date, from the midnight, they were not in use in the market. So legal tender are those currencies, or legal tender money is that money that is having legal validity of the government. So as long as the government will give value out to that particular money, that will have a value in the market. Unlimited legal tender actually are, these are not currency notes issued by the government. They are having, they can be paid up to any extent. It refers to that form of legal tender money which can be paid up to any extent. A person has to accept without any maximum limit. Legal action can be taken against a person who refuses to accept this money. Now, paper notes which are having legal validity of the government, they are unlimited legal tender. And optional money, it refers to that form of money which is generally accepted as a medium of exchange. For example, bank draft or checks, these are optional money because they actually are not currency or money. They are an alternative of currency notes, so they are optional money. It is also called fiduciary money because of trust between the payer and payee. Because in case of checks, it may happen that the checks may bounce, but since there is a trust between the people who are exchanging checks among themselves, these are also called fiduciary money. Next is bank money. Bank money are also demand deposits. So I think you know what is a demand deposit. The deposit which is with the bank, or the money which we deposit with the bank, and we can ask back from the bank, and the bank will have to pay that money anytime. That is demand deposit. So they are called bank money. So only the money that is deposited by us and we can withdraw the money anytime, they are only the demand deposits. So bank FDs are not demand deposit. We cannot withdraw the bank FD anytime, or checks or draft are also not bank money. Supply of money. Now what is the meaning of supply of money? The supply of money is actually the total stock of money or total money that is in circulation or with the public on a particular day. The money can be in the form of coins, in the form of paper, currency, or in the form of demand deposit with the bank. So if today all the notes, coins and deposits, demand deposit of people in the bank, they are added, that will become the supply of money in a particular day in a particular country. In it, government and banking system are not included. So money with the government is not included, only the money with the public is included. This can be in the form of coins, currency notes and demand deposits. Now what are the features of supply of money? When we calculate supply of money, we have to take care that it is a stock. So we know about stock and flow. Stock is something which is at a point of time. So on a particular day when the money supply is calculated, that is considered to be supply of money. We cannot calculate supply of money on a particular period. For example, for 1 month, we will have to calculate the supply of money on a particular point of time on a day. And second feature of supply of money is it is held by the public. So money that is with the government, if the money of government is kept in the Reserve Bank of India and with the banks, they are not included in supply of money. Only the money that is with the public, either in the form of coins, currency and demand deposit, they are included in supply of money. So we can conclude with components of supply of money. So what are the components of supply of money? Currency with the public in the form of notes and coins, and demand deposit of public with the bank. So what are the currencies? We all know it can be coins also, it can be notes also. And demand deposits, as we discussed, the deposit of public with the bank that can be demanded anytime. That means demanded back anytime. You can withdraw that money from the bank either from the counter or withdraw it anytime from the ATM of the bank, or you can transfer the money from your bank account to any other person. So with the money that is available to you 24 hours, 24 into 7, that is actually the demand deposit. So we will come to this figure later. Let us now discuss the measures of money supply. So money supply are also measured in several categories. So there are actually 4 measures of money supply. On the basis of liquidity, they are given several categories like M1, M2, M3 and M4. M1 is the most liquid and M4 is the least liquid supply of money or measure of money supply. What is M1? M1 is equal to C plus DD plus OD. Now C is actually the currency which is held with the public. DD is the demand deposit that can be withdrawn by public at any time, and other deposits. So other deposits of people are demand deposit held by RBI or public institution. So if you are having any demand deposit with institution like RBI or other type of institution, they are OD. So this is M1. M1 is the most liquid measure of money supply, as all its components are easily used as medium of exchange. You can use that money anytime. You can use your bank account in the form of UPI or digital transfer of money of your bank account. So since you can have any money transactions with that money with the bank, that is most liquid form of money, so it is in M1. Now M2 is slightly lesser liquid compared to M1. What are the components of M2? M2 is equal to M1 plus savings deposit with post office. Along with bank, we can also have deposit with post office or saving deposit with post office. Although they are not so liquid, we cannot withdraw the money deposited in post office anytime. No, we know that we don't have ATMs of post office and we cannot so often use the money of post office. Then we cannot use the money of post office through UPI or digital transfers also. So they are lesser liquid compared to money kept in bank. So M2 is equals to M1 plus savings deposit with post office. Third is M3. What does M3 include? M3 include M1, that means C plus OD plus DD, that means most liquid form of money, plus net time deposit of commercial bank. Time deposit are actually the term deposits or fixed deposit. They are called time deposit because we deposit money for a particular period of time. It can be for 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 5 year, like that. So fixed deposit are time deposits of commercial banks. They are lesser liquid as compared to M1 because we know that fixed deposit cannot be withdrawn from the bank anytime. You cannot transfer that fixed deposit through your wallet or any type of UPI transfer. So M3 is even lesser liquid as compared to M1 and M2. Next is M4. M4 includes M3 plus total deposit with post offices, that means deposit with post office in the form of savings deposit or in the form of other type of deposit like Kisan Vikas Patra or Indira Vikas Patra, but they exclude NSC or National Savings Certificate. Why are they excluded from NSC is excluded? Because you cannot withdraw NSC before 5-year term. National Savings Certificate is a tax saving certificate. The deposit in these certificates are locked in for 5 years. So they are not liquid. We cannot withdraw that. So they are not included in money supply. But other deposits like Kisan Vikas Patra can be withdrawn and savings account in post office can also be withdrawn. So they are included in money supply, but they are less liquid. So M4 is the least liquid form of money. So like this, M1 and M2 are called narrow money because they are narrow form of money having currency notes and deposits only. And M3 and M4 are broad money, they are lesser liquid. This classification is based on quality of liquidity. M1, M2 are liquid money, M3 and M4 are less liquid money. So M3 measure of money supply is also known as aggregate money resources of the country. Now what is liquidity? Liquidity is the feature of any asset that can be converted into cash. So any asset which can be converted into cash very easily, that is more liquid. For example, we can convert the stock in hand by selling it. It is a liquid. Cash at bank is liquid asset because that can be converted into cash very easily. But land and building, furnitures, these are less liquid because they cannot be easily converted into cash. Now, sources of money supply. Who supplies money? Obviously, government supplies money in the form of coins and currency notes. Government actually issues coins, and 1 rupee notes are only issued by the government. Reserve Bank of India, independent body and regulator of banks, issues currency notes. So on the currency notes other than 1 rupee note, you will observe Reserve Bank of India is written, and on the coins Reserve Bank of India is not written. The emblem of Indian government, Bharat Sarkar, is written. So they are the suppliers of money. And then commercial banks are also suppliers of money, which create credit on the basis of demand deposit. Creation of credit is one of the features of bank because when they have deposits of public, they create credit by giving loan to the people. Credit is actually loan, and by giving loan they increase the supply of money. These things will be dealt in the next chapter in banking. So with this we conclude the chapter money. So please go through this chapter in your book and have your queries in the next class when we will start banking after discussing chapter money. Thank you.